Hello, everyone. This is part two. It sounds like they're mowing, like in the next room, but it's too nice out, so don't worry. I mute the mic. This is requested. Atheist push back against Muslim Muhammad Ali. This is part two. Already done that. Saw how easy it was for me to move the mouse there. Click, completely free. If you could do that, it helps me out. And then you can donate to the channel through the thanks button. Blah, blah, blah. Video.
And you would be the same if I did that video.
I agree. But this is the idea. If you investigated my life, you will come to the conclusion that there are rational options of why I made that claim. You look at my life, since I will have a reason, right? If I say to you I'm a messenger of God, I have something in my mind. Whether it is power that I seek, whether it is money that I seek, whether it is a change, whatever it is I'm trying to do, there will be a logical purpose in which I'll be able to trace looking at your life. And that is the argument that we make. If you look at the life of Prophet Muhammad, you'll see all of these other alternative options. None of them can be valid. None of them can work. He cannot be seeking money because he refused money and he refused power. He'd been living with his wife for 2 months, on the water and dates only. And he could have said to people, bring me food, bring me money, right? You've been offered it, and he was the leader at the time, but he didn't do that. So if you look at his life, then you start disqualifying these other alternative possibilities, right? But more importantly is this, is that the Prophet has brought evidences of divine origin anyways. Like for example, the prophecies of the future that he made. Can me and you know the future? Can any human being know the future?
No, I wish, otherwise I'd be a lottery winner.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, you go in, bring all the money and come out, right? So Prophet Muhammad made tens of prophecies about the future. All of them actualized the exact specific way that he said. I'll give you a few examples. For example, Prophet Muhammad said, the Bedouin Arabs, you'll see the barefoot Bedouin Arabs, I'm not sure if you heard this before or not, you will see the barefoot Bedouin Arabs competing in building the tallest buildings. Where's the tallest building in the world today?
Isn't it the Burj Khalifa, I believe?
Burj Khalifa, in Dubai.
In Dubai, yeah.
Yes, and you have exactly what the Prophet said. You have these barefoot, because they were barefoot 50 years ago. There was a complete desert. Do you know what changed?
There was nothing there.
Yes. Do you know what changed?
Well, money in their case.
Where did the money come from?
Oil,
exactly. The Prophet said the earth will puke its treasures, and he said money will become abundant within you, referring to the Arabs. So he didn't only say that they would be constructing and building tall buildings. They were not known of building tall buildings. They did not have this idea anyways in their mind. Only when the money came, the money became abundant with them, then they start competing with each other and building tall buildings, exactly how the Prophet said. And he said that 1,400 years ago. Prophet said you'll see the deserts of Arabia becoming green again. And you open NASA, they show you the greenery of deserts of Arabia, how it was yellow and became green from 1800s until today.
So I only flew over the Arabian Peninsula not too long ago. It didn't look very green.
Let me show you a picture of what I'm referring to. It is becoming green.
I flew through Jeddah, and I was just looking. I was like, this is a desert.
I'll show you now.
I'm very interested.
Nobody said it's all green now, but it is turning green. Okay. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Look, here is the NASA article, yeah? Look, do you see the difference?
I see, so there's little fields of green coming up.
No, you see here, nothing.
1987,
you see here,
born,
you see here how much.
2012, yeah.
That's not a little bit, that's too much green, right? And that is happening why? It is because of accessing deep water. The technology we have, you can access deep water within the earth, or you saw some countries, they're moving huge mountains of ice, using planes and moving them from North Pole here, they're bringing them to change the weather, right? And you see all of the things they're using for the weather so they can have more rain happening, right? So all of this technology is the reason we can have the greenery is increasing daily. It is increasing every day. And the Prophet says the deserts of Arabia will come back to being meadows and rivers. So it will be back again, but he's making two claims that it was in the past as well. And he said that 1,400 years ago. I have an article from Nature showing us that 5,000 years before was all rivers. Because we have traces of 10,000 Asian lakes. We use satellites so we can see this Asian lake. have fossils of animals that only live when there is excess water, like elephants and these animals, right?
Yep.
This is how we know. But how would the Prophet know? 5,000 years before him, what was and what will happen in the future? Prophet talked about, for example, usury and interest and how it becomes so widespread that you will not be able to avoid it. Even the Muslims who try to avoid it, they will be hit by his dust.
And what I don't understand with that, just to add, this is a little bit of a side point.
Sure.
But usury is forbidden in the Bible as well.
Sure.
And in Christian societies, it's a big thing.
Yes,
or so-called Christian societies.
Yeah. But if they're capitalistic societies these days, anyway.
Yeah, usury. I mean, I'm caught in debt.
Sure, right?
And the interest
I
is
understand.
a pain in the ass, to be honest.
And that's why Islam prohibits that thing, right? It's because it's using other human beings, their need of money, so they can to get your own benefit. Oh, go and give me more, 2 times, 3 times now. Now it's 10 times, and sometimes you look at these cases of student loans and crazy interest rates, right? Slavery, it's modern slavery essentially, right? So the question is, the Prophet named the countries that will become the Islam will enter. He said that Islam will enter to Sham, which includes Jordan, Syria, Palestine, all of these countries. He said Turkey, Constantinople at that time. He said India, Pakistan, he said Egypt, he said Iraq, all of these countries by name.
What about countries like Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan?
So the Prophet said you will overcome the Roman and Persian Empire, which is essentially exactly what happened when we took all of these territories that you're talking about. Not only that, he said the leader of the Roman and Persian Empire in that region, in that time, he will be the last one.
Yeah.
And when he was taken away, he was the last one historically. But the question is, how would he know all of these things that I'm telling you now? And by the way, this is just some. We're talking about tens of prophecies that the Prophet made. Some of them in his time, things that will happen in his time, like when the Romans and Persians were fighting, which is a prophecy in the Quran, and it's time bound. Things that are after him, like the Mughals, and how they will come and they will be wearing these boots, which will have hair further than them, and how their eyes will look. Prophet described what they will wear, and that came like 600 years or 700 years after him. And the scholars who were living at the time, they could not believe exactly what the Prophet described is happening in front of their eyes. Now, how can we know what the Prophet said, that God that we said must exist. Prophet said, he revealed this information to me. I don't know the unseen. He said, only God knows the unseen. He's telling me that these are signs of the Day of Judgment, for example. This will happen in the future. Now, can you give me now an explanation if he wasn't a messenger of God? How did he know these things? And that's one evidence, and I can give you more later, but it's one example, right?
Yeah.
How would he?
First of all, I would have to say, number one, I would have to actually read
No problem.
the specific references that refer to these, because I want to know what it exactly says.
Sure.
Because I know how...
You can watch the video after, and then you'll see the references come on the screen.
And then, I'm being filmed.
Yes.
I don't mind. That's fine.
No problem.
What was I going to say? I know how vague some prophecies can be, and certainly I've seen how Christians have taken certain passages of the Bible that are very vague and they make it into a prophecy that they say has been fulfilled.
I know what you're saying.
Has it really? Has it really?
I know what you're saying.
There are a couple of prophecies in the Bible that do seem to be being fulfilled. Like in the last days, there will be an explosion of knowledge. It predicted an explosion of knowledge like the world has never seen before. So much knowledge would be
These are
gained
general.
in such a short amount of time, which the last 200 years really is when that's happened. It's amazing how much knowledge we've gained. Now, again, I'm not arguing for the Bible here. I'm just pointing out that there are some prophecies in the Bible that appear to have come true. The Bible predicted that the nation of Israel would be scattered.
I just want to say real fast, you said explosion of knowledge. I don't want to scare anyone, but 1 + 1 is 2. I recently learned that with my explosion of knowledge. It's the end times. We've all got a week, maybe less, because I just did 1 + 1. That'd be terrible if that was true. Oh, Kris learned 1 + 1? Yep, world's ending.
And would come back together again as a country, which happened.
But there's a problem with that, because that is written after that happened. So that cannot work as a prophecy.
It was predicted that it would come back together again, anyway.
Yeah, so it cannot be used as a prophecy to say that it will be scattered, because the writings that we have are carbonated after these events took place. And that's the problem with most, if not the overwhelming majority of what Christians claim that there is prophecies in their books, right? Now also, you can make general claims like knowledge. Some of them are very general.
I need to turn on the microphone if I'm going to talk. I have predicted the future by saying that I know one day I will have been born. That is a past tense prophecy I'm making. It's pretty much what that guy did.
Not talking about general, talking to you about very specific things, right? That's why I gave you very specific. I told you by name, the Prophet, for example, is naming the countries, right? Or the action that the people will be doing. And about that, I'll give you a specific prophecy. The Prophet said that writing will widespread, specifically, so very specific, not just knowledge. He talks about writing. But in the same time, he said also ignorance will widespread. And that is the paradox that we live in.
I'm not even going to argue with that.
Yes.
You're damn right that ignorance is widespread.
But you see, that shows you that he is not making any of this up, because if he was, he doesn't. You do not predict paradoxes. You don't say the thing and it's opposite. Well, in reality, we live in that. We have so many books, nobody's reading them.
I would say though that the claim ignorance will be widespread or whatever,
yes,
it's just as vague as the biblical claim that knowledge is going to explode. To me, that's a very vague prophecy.
Sure. So my point is not necessarily about the ignorance will widespread, but it's contradiction with the idea of that writing is widespreading, because you would think that if writing would widespread, that necessitates people would become educated, because that was a source of education. But sadly,
only if the stuff that's written is accurate and educational.
No, but a lot of it is.
There's so many
actually,
who believe the Earth is flat, for example.
I know.
Where does that come from?
I know, but we don't want to trigger people now. But what I'm saying is this: when writing today, everything you want to learn is there. Beneficial knowledge is there. Just people are not reading. So it's not a problem that the writing is not beneficial for the people. The problem is that the people are not seeking the education, and that's why they're watching TikTok videos that are less than 1 minute, right? That's why TikTok has become so popular, because they cannot watch more than a minute, right?
Some of us are different, but
yes, I know. So, what is the explanation that you can provide me other than if what I'm saying is accurate? Because you said you need to look into them, and that's fine. You can see the references and look into them. Now, if everything I said is the way it is and it's accurate, and the Prophet has made these specific prophecies, then is there any other explanation that other than that he was a messenger of God?
What I would say is that if there is, and this is the thing, I don't know, and a lot more research needs to be done. I couldn't say yes or no.
No, I said if we agree that these things are accurate.
A prophet would be every single prophecy must come true.
Sure, that there is not a single false prophecy that Prophet made. So agreeing that this is the case, then you would accept that he's a prophet of God?
Not necessarily.
Why? Because you just said the measurement of a prophet.
First of all, I need to research.
No, I said that if it was true.
I won't be backed into a corner to say, oh yes, I will agree.
I'm asking you, if you've done the research on your own, I'm not going to be with you when you do the research.
Of course, yeah.
I'm saying if you've done the research on your own, and you saw that what I was telling you is accurate, then would you accept the Prophet as a messenger of God? So it's not about backing you into a corner. When you do it, you'll be on your own. Like, can go right out.
Potentially.
Okay, but why potentially and not yes?
So I can understand this because I've been down this road. You are so ingrained with fighting against religion. He grew up in a religious household, so it became overwhelming, and you kind of reject it. And now you find yourself diving back into it, and you're starting to look at things, but you still have that question in the back of your mind. Even though I'm seeing this, and even though this all looks real and it feels real, that felt real too. This feels different. There's something about it. But I've been down this road. I understand the hesitation. You can't just say yes, because something inside of you is fighting you. I completely understand where this guy's coming from. I get it. Completely get it. Completely understand. It's being raised in a certain religion and then growing up and seeing all this other stuff, and then just kind of you feel overwhelmed because it doesn't feel real. You don't feel like you don't get anything out of it. And yeah, I understand what he's saying. I don't know if I'm relaying it well, but I get it.
If you're a truth seeker, as you defined yourself at the beginning
I
of
never
this
like
question.
to give a definitive answer on anything.
Okay, that's fine. So I'll let you there. It's up to you.
In philosophy.
Yes. Okay, that's fine.
So I'm all about.
All right.
You know.
I know what you're saying.
Both sides.
That's
not coming
fine.
down.
That's fine.
quickly and easily
No,
on
this
one
is a
side
critique
or
I have of Western philosophy. I've said it many times, specifically about this idea of hyper-skepticism that gives people, rather than give them answers, it gives them questions.
Yep.
And it makes them ask a lot more than it does give them any answers.
I mean, in philosophy, you can descend into this radical skepticism where you don't believe anything exists.
Yeah, I know. I know. I was just talking with another person who was saying that not too long ago, like yesterday or the day before.
That was where the famous philosopher Descartes came up with.
I know.
You can establish
I think therefore I am. I know. I'm very familiar.
One thing I did like in philosophy, well, I noticed you were using earlier, was actually a form of Islamic philosophical argument, the Kalam cosmological argument.
I wasn't using the Kalam.
It was similar. Basically, everything that begins to exist has a cause.
That's not what I said. That's why. I know. But I was not using that.
Has a cause.
I know. I was not using the Kalam cosmological argument, which was popularized by a Christian. Actually, who stole it from us. Yeah, who stole it from us, right? But I know I was not using that. I was using a Quranic statement. Something coming from nothing is a Quranic statement you'll find in the Quran itself, where Allah says in chapter 52, verse 35, 36, where He says, "Am khuliqu min ghayri shay." Did they come from nothing? Can you come from nothing? So I was using a Quranic argument, not specifically the Kalam, which is related to the everything. You have to establish a premise. Everything comes to existence requires a cause. I don't delve into this philosophical rhetoric. I like to keep it simple, the way it is for most people, the way they understand. And you don't need to, because truth is simple. That's why we can present it very simply and people can accept it. So here I presented you with evidence. There's many more evidences that I can put, but I think one is enough. And I think you can do your investigation on that, and that should be enough for you, inshallah, maybe to accept Islam if it is true. As I said, it is, right?
I'll see you again.
No problem. You can come and tell me what was the conclusion,
what my conclusion is.
No problem. It's a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your time.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
God bless.
Yeah, I like that guy. This guy. The other guy, sadly, I think that he will research, but he's always going to hold it at a distance. And I'm wondering if something being around, and I'm not saying this negative, but just overbearingly religious family. I didn't have that. My dad wasn't religious. My mom was, but it wasn't overbearing. And I know people who are some aunts, whatever you. I don't mean the little insects. Who are, and I know that their kids rebelled when they got older. And I'm wondering if he's one of those that pushed away and will never really be able to come back. You know what I mean? Anyways, that was good. I've seen this guy on a couple other videos, and I do like him. I like how he interacts with people. So this channel was requested, so I will make sure that I do a couple more. I like the guy. Okay, well, I'm going to end this here because they're mowing, and I'm going to get some din-dins. Until next time, have a good day, have a good night.